Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome you guys all to the afternoon sessions. They've been great so far this morning. Appreciate all the candid feedback and questions from the group. We see the crowd growing here as we move into the later talks. Right now, I'd like to welcome our next speaker, Ms. Shelli Brunswick. She's the Chief Operating Officer at Space Foundation, an executive leader for the Center of Innovation and Education. She has a distinguished career as a space acquisition and program management leader. She's also served as congressional liaison for the U.S. Air Force. We're so pleased to have her share with us today as an advocate for space technology, innovation, as well as inclusionary diversity among all demographics. Again, I would like to remind you all just to post your questions in the chat window as she proceeds, so we can have some great questions and comments built up for the end of the session. Ms. Shelli, go ahead.
Thank you so much for inviting me today, and it's an honor to be here and joining you. And I really enjoyed our last presenter. That was really excellent. And what I'd like to share with you today is some of what are we looking at as we look at moving forward into the space economy. What is that going to take? How are we going to get there? And of course, as a good former Air Force officer, I have about 50 slides that I'd like to share with you. Okay, it's not a full 50 slides, but a few slides. So let me see if I can figure out how to share my screen here. There we go. And so again, as you said, I'm with the Space Foundation, and as we are highlighting, there is no better time than right now to be part of the space economy. We look at space, space today leads to a better tomorrow. So everything we're doing right now is going to help us not just next year or the year after, but 2025, 2030, 2050. For those of you who are not familiar with the Space Foundation, we have been in business almost 40 years. We are a U.S. nonprofit that does business internationally. And our mission is to inspire, educate, connect, and advocate on behalf of the global space community. And we have three main pillars that we focus under, and that's education, service to the space community, and space awareness. And you can probably understand space awareness is how do we get more individuals to understand that space is for them, that space interacts with their lives every day. Service to the space community is how do we help the current community thrive. Many of you are probably familiar with our annual Space Symposium that we conduct every year in Colorado Springs, where we bring the global space community together. In 2019, we had 15,000 participants that came to Colorado Springs to talk about policy and entrepreneurship and innovation and ways forward. Obviously, due to COVID, we have pivoted, as have many other organizations, and we have moved our in-person event to August 2021. So we hope that if you're looking to reconnect with the global space community in person, we will be doing an in-person event the end of August. So that will be after the vaccine is out, and we're looking forward to bringing the global space community together. Another way that we have looked at how do we keep the global space community connected during this time is we've gone online with our Space Symposium 365, which is a way to allow learning, networking, and again, business development during this time of COVID. So I'll talk about that in a little bit. The area I'm really going to focus on today, though, is that education pillar. What are we doing there, and how are we helping to grow that future space economy? So as you've mentioned in the earliest presentations, and there are some more coming up in the next 2 days, space is really part of our everyday life. Everything we do, as a matter of fact, this conference, using our cell phone, I'm sure yours are all buzzing off the hook on the side, Zoom platforms, we're using space technology every day. Most citizens don't realize how important it is for our financial system, our food supply, our public safety. So it's important to highlight how space is intersecting with us every day to build that space awareness. But it's more than just what many people think. Some satellites up there, some launch vehicles, maybe some astronauts. Space is really part of 16 different sectors. And it's part of the emerging technology that you hear every day on TV, whether it's CNBC or entrepreneurs that are talking about their products coming to market. the number one area we're seeing a need in right now, not just in emerging technology, but in jobs, is data analytics. Another one we see a huge need for jobs is in advanced manufacturing. I'm highlighting these two areas right now because as COVID has impacted our workforce here in America and other countries, we have unemployed workers, but we do have jobs open right now that are available in data analytics and advanced manufacturing that can require a certificate, cybersecurity, a certificate. So if you are aware of unemployed workers, there are opportunities to get into reskilled programs and come out of COVID with a better job potentially than you had going in. So the US has the workforce for these jobs, but they're just in locations or in areas that are not used to being part of the space economy or don't realize that this technology is part of the space economy. Obviously, many of you are aware of energy and energy storage solutions, healthcare, miniaturization. The miniaturization has been a huge impact on our space because the smaller we can make things, small sats, CubeSats, the cheaper and lower cost it is to get to orbit, to create and gather more data. And again, the more data we're creating, the more data analytics and artificial intelligence we need to process that data. So I just wanted to kind of highlight the technology that's available that you may have not thought of as part of the space community. I also like to highlight this. This is the NASA Technology Transfer Office website. And this represents patents that they have available that are ready to come to market right now. So again, it is very similar to the last slide. It's in agriculture, it's in healthcare, energy, energy storage solutions, transportation, communication, water purification, healthcare. So if you want to be an entrepreneur and you don't have your own entrepreneurial idea, the NASA Technology Transfer Office is a great place to start. And they also have some grant funding that can help you initially launch that entrepreneur innovation idea that you'd like. So as you can see, the jobs today we're looking at is spaces for STEM and non-STEM professionals now, trade workers. We need business professionals, we need legal experts, as well as the STEM professionals. And as I highlighted, it's really about lifelong learning, and that's not just in the space sector. We need to continue to reskill and upskill because as technology continues to rapidly change and come online, some jobs and workers will be displaced as new technology comes online. So we all need to continue to be reskilled and upskilled and be lifelong learners. And the other area I highlight is there are innovation opportunities. You know, America has always been an innovation leader, and there are innovation patents that are waiting to come to market to create that next billion or $1 trillion economy. And we need to look for that workforce where we may have not thought of them, in the inner cities, in rural communities, minorities, women, veterans, retirees. We have the workforce we need for the space economy. We just have to reach out and let them know that they can be part of this community. So as we share, the global space economy right now is exciting. It's $424 billion, and it is projected to grow $1 to $3 trillion in the next 10 to 20 years. Bank of America recently said by 2030, they anticipate the global space economy to be $1.4 trillion. 80 or more nations are participating, and they're at various levels. You have the US and India and China and Russia at one area, well-developed space economies, and we have many emerging space economies in South America, Latin America, Africa, the Middle East. So there's a wide spectrum of opportunity for multiple nations to participate in the space economy. Here in the US, the exciting part is, as I mentioned, the US has a very developed space economy, but initially it was really designed as a geopolitical, I call it a soft war, political aspect between Russia. However, as time has progressed over the last 40 years, it's really become democratized and commercial. And here in the US, 80% of the space economy is commercial companies. So again, there's a wide opportunity for all citizens to participate in the space economy. There are opportunities in government and defense contractors, but there are also a multitude of opportunities in the commercial sector. And again, in those technologies I highlighted earlier. The salaries in these space careers are far significant to other salaries, the median salary here in the US. And again, there are thousands of patents waiting to be brought to market. So for individuals who want to be entrepreneurs, there are patents that are just waiting for you to come look at them. So I know that as Michael shared with me, he'd love to see some data and some numbers. I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole of statistics. However, the Space Foundation does put out our quarterly space report that covers a multitude of areas, to include what is the global space economy, what are the different sectors, and then we do have an online database of the last 15 years of the global space economy that is a subscription model. But this gives you a nice snapshot of how you're looking at the global space economy. And you can see 51% is really in those commercial space products and services. You're seeing some infrastructure, and I know that there'll be some other briefers later in this program that will talk about potentially a infrastructure bill that will be coming forward and what the space portion of that infrastructure bill will be. So I don't want to steal that thunder, but space is a critical infrastructure for the US because it runs not only our national security, but it also runs our information and our commerce. So that is a very important area, and that will continue to grow. And then you can see some of the other areas that relate to the space economy. Again, as we're highlighting, again, Michael, I want to get that extra credit that I am providing some statistics in my presentation. That how does that break out? Obviously, the space economy has grown 73% in the last decade. As you can imagine, as time continues, whether we reach the 1.4 trillion by 2030, if we reach the 3 trillion by 2040, again, that's not totally out of the norm of what could be expected with the multitude of what is considered the space industry. So everything is really looking great, and I'm excited to be here to talk about where the space economy is going. We do have a challenge though, and that is we do have a workforce shortage, a skills deficit, and an innovation gap. I highlighted that a little bit earlier. Our skills shortages, we do have unemployed workers and we have open jobs, but we have some skills mismatch. We also have an untapped workforce here in the United States with diversity, women, minorities, and that's also in other parts of the world where women may not be thought of as part of the space economy. The skills deficit, as I shared, there are job openings, but you do need to get some reskilling and training, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. What are some programs that can create that? And I talked about the innovation gap. The US, one of the great things about the US is it is an innovator. And the great part is that innovation not only creates a job for the entrepreneur, but it creates multiple jobs. And those jobs create spin-off jobs, which create economic opportunity and development. So as communities look at the space sector and how they can be part of the space community, they can really look at the ecosystem of creating a space sector around those various technologies to be a leader of innovation, and that innovation will drive job creation. It will drive products and services, and ultimately, space technology benefits our lives here on Earth. So it's good for all of us. So for those reasons, the Space Foundation launched our Center for Innovation and Education. It's all about creating innovative, sustainable, inclusive programs that support workforce development and economic opportunity so all citizens can participate in the global space economy. This has been a process we have been researching for the last 2 years. We started this over 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago now, where we started reaching out to companies and universities and entrepreneurs and government agencies to find out what was needed and how do we find solutions to fill that gap. So how we look at it, the Space Foundation, we are looking at that entire workforce pipeline, students, young leaders, entrepreneurs, and professionals. And we're looking at the entire ecosystem of stakeholders that needs that workforce, businesses, government, education, and of course, local communities. How do local communities tap into this type of initiative? This whole initiative, the center relates to working together with others. The Space Foundation is not going to do this alone. There are great organizations that exist. And so we're looking for partnerships, we're looking for sponsorship, grant opportunities, fundraising, donations, and an endowment. So what I'd like to talk about is, how does this process work? How do we look at it? We do have a 5-phase workforce development roadmap. And the first step is awareness. How do you break down the barriers to allow individuals to know that they can be part of the space economy? How do we do that outreach? So we have launched a strategic outreach campaign. Obviously, thank you so much for inviting us to be part of your event. This is part of how you can reach out to others and share that there are opportunities for you in the space economy. The next step is, how do we create an access point? Because you can share that there are opportunities, but you have to really provide, how do I get into the space community now? So what are those access points? And those access points are different depending on who in the pipeline is trying to enter. There is usually some training required. So I'm excited if people say, I want to be part of the space economy. That's awesome. There's probably going to be some training required, but we can help you figure out where that training level is. Is it a certificate at a community college? Is it a PhD? Is it some online courses? And then it's about building connections. And this Blue Marble Week is an example of how you can build connections with the space community. You can attend Space Symposium. You can participate in UN Office of Outer Space Affairs activities. You can join Women in Aerospace or Women Tech Networks or National Defense Industrial Association. So there are organizations that provide opportunities to connect in the global space community. And the last one I'm going to talk about, which I really think is the first one, is mentorship. If you can help find a mentor or a sponsor that helps you understand these other 4 areas, they can help you navigate the landscape so you can become part of the space economy. And again, I'll share some examples shortly. So as I highlighted, this is about today's workforce. So Michael, again, I get another gold star. This is about today's workforce. Government agencies, international communities, space professionals. This is about the workforce today, and it's also about our workforce tomorrow. How are we preparing them? How are we capturing them to become into the space community, to stay in the space community so they don't exit, because we know the workforce pipeline can be leaky. So this is our system of how we look at what we deliver for the space community and outside the space community. Imagine you're on that gray dot that says Space Foundation, and you're looking out because you're trying to decide, what is it, who is the audience I want to reach, or what audience am I part of? So you would look out and say, who's the audience I'm part of? So in this case, let's say you're part of young leaders, or you want to reach young leaders. Then the next goal is to understand, what are the outcomes you want? So if you're an individual and you're a young leader, what is your goal for success? Is it networking? Is it business development? Or if you're a sponsor of a program, what is your objective? Is it helping young leaders connect with you to deliver your program? Or what exactly is your goal or success or measure of effectiveness? Then we can work together to create, do we already have a program at the Space Foundation, or is this a partnership with other organizations? And the Space Foundation is partnered with multiple organizations internationally, to include universities and other nonprofits. So depending who the audience is, what you consider success, or what is your goal, then we can figure out what is the right program that will help you accomplish success. And on the sides, again, I'm highlighting that the global space economy is more than just astronauts and launch vehicles. It's agriculture, it's education, it's energy, it's environment, it's government. And these are things that are happening right now today that you can be part of. So what I'd like to do is walk you through one of our programs that we did, and walk you through that 5-step workforce development roadmap and how it worked and how we measured success. So one of our programs was our Space Commerce Entrepreneurship Program. This was designed to bring more minorities, women, and veterans into the space ecosystem. So you can think about, they could already have been an entrepreneur and they had a product line, and we were offering them an opportunity to create another line of business in the space ecosystem, or they maybe were not entrepreneurs but wanted to be entrepreneurs, and they were figuring out how to enter the space economy. Again, in this case, we partnered with the Department of Commerce and the Minority Business Development Agency. We launched this program, and our outcome was to create jobs, careers, and help bring more minorities and women into the space ecosystem. We did several activities. One was we have online webinars because we realized this was 2 years ago. So even before COVID, we realized to reach more individuals, we had to provide digital engagement. So we do have online webinars that are free to access that talk about what the space economy is, but they're great webinars for anybody who wants to be an entrepreneur and learn about business. We also then went around the country and did in-person workshops. And the goal of the in-person workshop was to bring in guest speakers, both nationally, like venture capitalists, but also who is that local ecosystem that can help you continue to move your business forward. So there are local organizations in every state, whether it's Manufacturers Extension Partnership, PTAC, chambers. There are a number of organizations in every community that can help entrepreneurs continue to keep moving forward. So although the Space Foundation may come in for the workshop, we want to leave you with individuals locally that can help you continue to move forward. So as you can tell, it was, if you look at the 5-step roadmap, we created awareness. So we created the program. We worked with Minority Business Development Agency. When we went into local communities, we reached out to the multitude of chambers, the Women's Chamber, the African American Chamber, the Hispanic Chamber, to build awareness. We then looked at ways to create access. So if you wanted to come into the business, we brought in these key speakers that could help you figure out how do you access into the space economy. For instance, having somebody from the NASA Technology Transfer Office speak, how you could get that technology, get the patent, apply for a grant, SBIR, STTR, and start to develop your program. Training, some individuals required some training. We provided some videos online. And then again, connecting them with the global space community. What we did is we offered scholarships for those companies that were ready to come to Space Symposium, and we helped them arrange meeting with companies to do business development at Space Symposium. And 2 of the companies walked out with multi-million-dollar contracts. So again, it's how did we connect them? And then again, the mentoring, we connected them with industry experts that continue to help them move their program forward. And we are still in contact with all those entrepreneurs that went through our program. So another program I just want to share, I'm staying on this entrepreneurial theme because this is really part of igniting innovation and unlocking space technology, not just in America, but around the world. We also do a junior space entrepreneurship program. And in this case, we're really looking at primarily junior high and high school kids. And the theme of this is the kids come together, they're part of a team, because we all work together, right? Nobody sits and does it all by themselves. We have to communicate, we have to collaborate, we have to work with others. So we create a team, and each student wears a different hat. One is the chief technology officer, one is the readiness officer, one is the marketing person and the business development person. And the kids have to go do a mission to Mars and return. So they do all the STEM that's required. But once they return, they now have to tell us what did they learn that they could commercialize on Earth to make life better for us on Earth. And then they become a company. And one is the CEO, and one is the marketing person, and one is the legal expert. And then they pitch their concepts to companies that are looking for interns. So that kind of gives you an outline of how the program works. We did partner with Lockheed Martin, NASA, and Junior Achievement on this program. And again, it was inspiring kids to pursue space careers and entrepreneurial opportunities. And this program was recognized by Fast Company as an honorable mention for their 2020 world-changing ideas. So some of the programs I shared with you. So if you're out there and you're like, how do I get involved? I'm excited. I obviously shared with you the NASA Technology Transfer Office. Great place to start. There are many other research labs, the Department of Energy, Air Force Research Lab, and other labs that you can look at. And yes, if you're an international citizen, there are opportunities to partner with NASA to take that patent forward. It can be a little more complicated, but again, we would refer you to an expert from NASA to help you work through that. One great program, if you're a mentor, if you're looking for a mentor, whether you're in the US or internationally, there's the United Nations Office of Outer Space Affairs, has a Space for Women Mentor Network. There are Saturday morning shows to help you understand more about the space community and connect with it. And then if you are looking for a mentor, whether it's a scientist or a business expert or entrepreneurial leader, you can go to their website and ask for a mentor to help you. Women in Aerospace is another great location. And the Space Foundation has our Women's Global Gathering that takes place every year at our Symposium. I know next year, World Space Week is going to kick off their activities sooner. And their theme for next year is Women in Space. And then there's Women Tech Network, which also which also provides mentors, and that is for diversity and inclusion. So although it says Women Tech, it is also men and women. So I just want to share that. So there are opportunities for you right now to find a mentor or find individuals out there that can help you connect into the space economy. I shared with you Space Symposium 365. Every month there'll be a few activities. Tomorrow we'll be doing a workforce panel with several leading companies to include Lockheed Martin that will help you connect. And if you're not current or fresh with the space economy, events like today, Blue Marble Week is a wonderful activity today through Wednesday, as well as their activities, but you can also connect with us on our Space Symposium 365. So if you're interested in any of these activities or you want to reach out to me, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, Shelley Brunswick. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm happy to help you connect with somebody. If you want to join 365, it's on there. If you're interested in partnering with us on any of our programs or being a sponsor, funder, or contribute to our endowment, because what we learned by doing all this was that there's more need than what the Space Fund. What I'm going to do is just share one example, and then we'll go ahead and take down the slides, and then we'll do Q&A. But one example I share with you is we were contacted by a school in inner city LA that was an all-girls school, 60% African-American girls. It was a STEM school. And I was talking to their superintendent about all the great opportunities, because LA, Silicon Beach, entrepreneurship, you got the Space and Missile Systems Center, you have a huge industrial base in Orange County with manufacturing, and there are jobs open right now where, and I said, your students could get certificates in advanced manufacturing and walk out right now out of high school and walk into a job. And she said to me, that's great. Could you tell me how I can help my students' parents get recertified so they can get jobs in the space economy and get those manufacturing jobs? Well, fortunately, I'm partnered with El Camino College, and in California, your first 2 years at a community college, they pay for. So if you can get into the community college, they do have the skill, the programs for cyber, for data analytics and manufacturing. And so and that's exactly what I did. I connected the superintendent with my point of contact at El Camino College. That's not a unique incident. This can happen all around the country. If you're looking to reskill, there are community colleges out there. There are companies that are offering free programming right now, but there are opportunities. So let me end my slideshow and stop sharing this. and then let's just listen, see what some questions might be. So hold on. I'm being technically challenged. How do I end my slideshow?
Can you end it? We'll take care of it. We'll take care of it, Shelley. Hey, thank you very much. Really, really appreciate that. I probably will ask you to put the slides up towards the end just to make sure that we get them, because we're all asking everyone for ways to contact her and ways to communicate afterwards. So at the end, we'll do that. We've got about half an hour, so we can kind of have an interesting conversation. I want to open it up to folks. I'm going to take kind of moderator's privilege and kind of ask you to drill into a few things. First of all, yes, absolutely. You got some gold stars. So thank you very much for really kind of diving into the numbers. I know that that's not everybody's focus, but I'm a big nerd, and I'm a nerd in a finance perspective. So I like having those. I like having the validation and verification that, you know, we are talking about trillions with a T, trillions of dollars of this cislunar econosphere, right? That we've been talking about science from science fiction. We've been talking about, wouldn't it be cool if we had all this asteroid mining? And wouldn't it be cool if we, went to Venus with, some sort of balloons and we found life, and that's great. And I definitely don't want to steer away from that, because those are worthwhile efforts. But when you're talking about $1 to $3 trillion of economic value to our nation and to the world, that's really powerful. So I would like you to take us on a journey from when you are a student, and whether it's high school or college, what would a path look like for you to be in the space field? And I want you to stress, it doesn't have to be rocket engineering, right? There is no such thing as a rocket scientist. That job description doesn't exist. So what if you're a student, junior, in college or in high school, what does a path look like? And your conversation with the LA teachers about reskilling the parents, actually, honestly, that wasn't on my radar. So I want you to kind of go into more depth in those two areas, please.
Super. Well, first of all, you are looking at someone that was not considered a space professional in the 80s. So when I talk to high school or college students and they talk about what's a space path, that's a great question. And my mom did not raise a space professional, right? I went in the Air Force, and at that time you had to work for NASA, or you were working at a company that did those type of space activities. And that was not what I did. And then as time transitioned and I became an officer and I went to the Space and Missile Systems Center, I became a space professional. And then in 2004, there was really great legislation passed that opened the opportunity to allow the commercialization of space. So I share that this did not happen overnight. SpaceX's success did not happen overnight. So right now, anyone who's watching this who says, I'm not a space professional, you can be. Do you want to be? So first of all, the question is, whether you're in high school or college or even adult that's sitting here going, I think I want to transition into space. And believe it or not, I am coaching 2 women who are transitioning out of other sectors into the space economy, right? So how do they do that? So I'm going to start with, let's say you're a high school student. And again, it's reaching out and providing role models to show the different careers. So as you said, not every career is going to be Peggy Whitson. I mean, we'd love for everyone to strive to be an astronaut, to be the first woman on the moon or Mars. Those are wonderful goals. But I also understand for many citizens and for many international citizens in other countries, that's not a reality. So when you talk about that great aspirational goal, that is going to resonate with 5% of the population. And that's awesome. But I need to look at capturing 95% of the population. And that means I have to not only capture that high school student or college student, I have to capture their parents. Their parents have to also buy into this, that these are real jobs, real career opportunities. So one individual that's part of the Space Generation Advisory Council is in Pakistan. Space is not necessarily a reality there, but what is a reality is healthcare. And there are lots of opportunities in healthcare to take space technology and bring it into the healthcare system. It's been done for decades. Mammograms, cataract surgery, formulated food. We're looking at osteoporosis now and many other activities that we're going to learn by this cislunar orbit that's going to benefit us here on Earth. So what we really have to do is, it starts again with, I say, finding that mentor or somebody who can come and speak, not just to the kids or the students, but can we have an opportunity to meet with the parents? Because again, if a child wants to be part of the space community, their parents have to buy in. And I share that even in the US, we have, kids that their parents don't think that's a reality, let alone other countries like Pakistan or India that don't think that's a reality. So we have to help the parents understand what are the paths. And as I shared with you, there are paths to be a lawyer. Oh, lots of opportunities in the legal arena. Oh, it's the
Lots
wild.
of chances to be a space lawyer. That's like the new gold rush is the space lawyers.
I think we have too many space lawyers.
And I throw that one out there because I spoke at a conference in Chile, FADAI, a couple years ago, and I went out and met with some student groups, 8th graders. And I did my, here's your opportunities. And I had a student raise his hand and go, can we be lawyers? And it was like, absolutely. There's litigation. We need to figure out what this looks like. How do we service satellites? What does that look like? How do we deorbit things? There's lots of opportunities for lawyers and to figure out what does that really mean. So for lawyers, we need you. We need healthcare professionals. And fortunately, there are a number of excellent leading individuals in the healthcare field that are also part of space that create that role model. You need business experts. So guess where I fit? I'm that business expert. I have an undergraduate in business. I have an MBA. Yes, I did space acquisition while I was in the Air Force. I talked about space on Capitol Hill. But you have to have a business expert who can say, here's my technical gobbledygook, right? That, all of us have sat in technology readiness review meetings or program reviews. How do I take that comprehensive technical data and now create it into a communication and a value proposition and a positioning statement that you can go out and talk to potential investors, members of the Hill, government agencies. And so you have to have that person. You have to have a marketing person, right? You have to have those skills. You have to have a business development person. So again, lots of opportunities to include all the STEM skills, but we also talk about ecosystems. And so you can stop me at any point, Michael, because I obviously love this topic.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
So let's talk about launch facilities. So when you think about launch facilities, people are going to think, oh, you're going to launch something. Is that tourism? Okay, that's one small part of the value chain. You're missing the other parts. Where are those launch facilities going to be? Who's going to provide the restaurants and the hotels for those facilities? Who's going to do the fleet maintenance and the electrical and the plumbing for those buildings? Is this, so if it's space tourism, obviously tourists are coming there. They want to do other things while they're there, waiting for their opportunity to go into outer space. You're also going to look at our experiments going to be done by multiple organizations, whether they're commercial or industry or government or academia. So is there going to be an area that's industrial, manufacturing? So I talked to many launch facilities, Daytona Beach and Camden, and so all over. And I say, it's not just the launch facility and that aspect of the work. You have to look at the entire ecosystem of that launch complex. What is it that you're going, what services is it going to provide? Who's going to be drawn to that launch complex? And how do you now look at building out that ecosystem? Whether, is it housing? Because if I'm doing a launch system and they're doing launches all the time and you're out in nowhere, right?
Yep.
Not at the one at Daytona Beach, right?
Right.
Somewhere else, and you have to build housing. Okay, how am I building that housing? Because I got to have workers there, right? I'm going to have workers there. So I share with communities that are looking at strategizing, how do you want to position your community? Is it for the launch facility, or do you want to be an innovation leader in a certain area? Is it cyber? Is it healthcare? So again, how do you position yourself? How do you draw those innovators, entrepreneurs, investors there? And then how do you create the ecosystem that supports that? So it's a very complex issue. And at the heart of it is your workforce. And that workforce is very diverse. And you have to look at all of it to make sure that this will be successful.
Let me ask you a specific question on this. So pull out your crystal ball and imagine 2022, maybe 2025. What if there were, let's say, we know about spaceports, the way we think about Vandenberg and Florida and the private ones in in Texas, right? Maybe tomorrow there's going to be a big day in Texas, right? But pull out your crystal ball and imagine what, let's just pick the 5 biggest cities in America, and let's attach a spaceport to them, because probably next year, at least 1, maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe 4 suborbital launch companies are going to launch. So it is in the realm of near-term possibility that we could have point-to-point suborbital, possibly supersonic flights. What would the world look like? What would America look like if we had 5 spaceports that were dedicated to big cities, or 10 spaceports dedicated to big cities? Do we have the workforce to support that? I think we don't, right? So where is the gap there? Do you have any guess? And I don't mean to put you on the spot, but you are our workforce infrastructure person. So guesses?
I love guesses. So in the military, I learned never to provide unrealistic expectations, right?
Yep.
Hold that. First of all, I'm going to tell you you didn't list all the other spaceports. Virginia.
Yeah.
Mojave, New Mexico. I think they were talking about a spaceport, Michigan or Minnesota. So your prediction of 5 or 10 is already a reality.
Right.
And throw out there international, right? Brazil. Look at all the other countries that could create a spaceport. What does that look like? And again, that is economic development and prosperity for those countries if they look at that spaceport and what it'll do and what it'll drive. That is economic opportunity for them and their community. Point to point. So I was on another conference a couple weeks ago, and they still feel that point to point is a little bit challenging. Could we get there by 2023, 2025? I think, yes, I do. I think our current thing with space tourism is a great thing. There are individuals out there that do want to do that, but long term, the bigger thing will be the point to point. I mean, if you could go from Denver to London or Dubai or wherever in 2 hours, that will be a disruptor. So it's just like SpaceX. When SpaceX was able to reduce the cost of launch, it disrupted the sector to allow more commercialization, more entries, more opportunities. When we figure out point to point, that will do the same thing. It will revolutionize travel. It will change travel in a way that is unforeseen. And initially, just like any new product, originally it'll be a certain higher end buyer of that. But as time goes on, just like airlines, it will become more democratized where average citizens can do that. So that is a good thing. Do we have the workforce in the US? Yes, we do have the workforce. Are they trained, skilled, and do they know they are that workforce? No. So that's the conundrum we're in, but that's why the Space Foundation is out here talking about our Center for Innovation and Education. The only way we're going to get to that workforce by 2025, 2022, 2030 is to be out there sharing it with schools in LA and conferences like this and around the world, and being mentors for women tech networks and other networks to share that there are opportunities. Not everyone has to be a PhD or an advanced degree. There are certificate programs, there's community college. There are multiple opportunities to be part of this workforce. So again, my role, I'm like Elon Musk, not rich, and I don't own a launch company or Solar City, but visionary in the sense of I'm playing a certain role, just like Elon Musk is playing a certain role to go to Mars. I'm playing a certain role saying there are opportunities. I can help direct you in those opportunities, but I need partnership. I need partnership at the community level. And that's why we have partnered with Daytona Beach, Camden. We are partnering with multitude of cities, inner city LA, because that's how we're going to help those communities think through how are they going to create their value proposition for that community? How are they going to draw the entrepreneurs and innovators? and then how do they create the workforce? So it's a very systemic process. It's a very methodical process. You have to have the vision. You have to have community leaders and politicians that are innovative and entrepreneurial and passionate and agile, because we have to do it now. Because I can't create an 8th grader in 2 years to be a PhD.
No, right.
So, and I can't create a 30-year-old person to be a PhD in space either. So your workforce is going to take more time. So I need communities and politicians and thought leaders to really think through this. And the Space Foundation is here to work with you. We'll work with you to help you figure out, what does that plan look like, and how do you engage what you have in your community? What are your universities? What are your community colleges? What are your, do you have Department of Labor certified programs in your community college, that can get people certified into those careers immediately? So it's a methodical process. We can do it together, and it is possible. Those workers are here, and they're looking for jobs, and they're looking for opportunities. We just have to help them find them.
I want to echo something Shelley was just saying about the workforce development and not looking like how it is now. We have this idea that it's only rocket scientists and doctors and people in lab coats in clean rooms. But that is only a feature of the fact that for the entire time we've been in space, it has been pushing the envelope. Mm-hmm. So there is the bottom of that workforce, the base of that pyramid to support that. When people go to space, as Shelley was saying, what are they going to do? Who's going to fix the heaters and the electrical? It's not going to be a rocket scientist, if for no other reason because we can't train them fast enough. Mm-hmm. And so, as Shelley was pointing out, we have the people that can do almost all of the tasks we need. We just need to show them how to do it in a new domain. Just like there's training for mountainous environments or underwater certifications. That's most of the difference between what some of these master electricians and really skilled tradesmen know and how to apply that in orbit and beyond.
I'm going to jump in and kind of reiterate that, but also suggest that it doesn't require that much training and overhead. When we created Mast and Space Systems back in 2004, we had interns who were still in high school. Mm-hmm. We had interns who came to be full-time employees that never went to college. They just knew how to tear a car apart, put it back together, and reprogram the onboard computer controller for the car. The number one skill that determined whether or not someone made it in the space sector was whether or not you cared. And that if you cared enough, if you had a problem, you were going to beat the crap out of that problem until you solved it. And because of that, one of the things that, looking across the sector, even our portfolio, we have companies that are hiring from everything from JavaScript front-end web developers to hypergolic propulsion engineers, up and down, marketing, business development, legal, policy, all of that. And these are companies that are hiring right now, and they don't care whether or not you've ever worked in an aerospace company before. And even for certain skill sets, the fact that you have never worked in an aerospace company before is a feature, not a bug. And these companies are now desperate, which means that if you have even remotely the skill set that they need, you will be able to negotiate from a position of strength. So if you think that you are qualified or have been qualified or could figure it out on your own, apply. These companies are desperate right now as we speak. They need the people in the offices right now.
Shelley, I want to make sure that I connect you to Paul in the audience here. from Cal Poly. So y'all should probably send some private messages to share contact information. Paul, would you ask a question related to some of the programs that you're doing at Cal Poly? I feel like there's kind of a natural synergy between the two of y'all, but I don't want to speak for either of you.
Yeah, sure. So there's, a lot of what you're saying, Shelley, really fits with many of the things we're working on at Cal Poly as well. I put a note in the chat where we do this thing called the California Cyber Innovation Challenge every fall, and we just finished it a couple of months ago, where we bring in, I think this year we had 400 high school students that came in and helped, and it was a competition where they solved a problem with a cybersecurity incident on a satellite that caused an issue with the satellite, and they did all of the forensics around that satellite and learned how satellites work, and they learned how bugs work and viruses and that sort of thing with the satellites. And the idea we have with that is that we really want to bring hands-on learning experiences to high school students around, in this case, space and cybersecurity. But we have lots of opportunities like that at Cal Poly as well. So I'm the director of our Digital Transformation Hub. And at the Digital Transformation Hub, we work with governments, nonprofits, and education around the world on helping them solve a lot of the big problems they have. But our team that we have at the Digital Transformation Hub is kind of a handful of professionals and lots of students. And the idea with that is we get our students from engineering and business and communications and agriculture and whatever it might be to go out and really work with real world problems, right? And in some cases, they're space related problems. We're working on several things with Vandenberg right now. They might be a World Bank problem, or we're working on, virtual reality to determine structural integrity on school buildings around the world, things like that. But the idea of it all is that the students get their hands on how to work with real customers using real technologies and real innovation processes before they graduate. So when they go out into the world, they already have that experience with them. So excuse me, we have lots of opportunities to work on things like that at Cal Poly as well. We also have a CubeSat lab there. So yeah. So if there's any opportunity for us to be able to work with you to develop the workforce around space technologies, especially because we're really trying to make the central coast of California a good opportunity for the space industry. We have the Diablo Canyon nuclear power plant just not too far from here. It's being decommissioned in 2025, and we have 2,000 engineers that are going to be out of work and looking for employment, and they have a great skill set, but they're going to need to find a way to find something else to do, right? And this is a really good opportunity for them, I think.
I think what you highlighted is the important part is we're going to have a workforce, whether they're highly skilled engineers or getting skilled, but we have to get them to where the jobs are. And so what I share with you is I'd love to find a way to partner with you. I think that's exciting what you're offering. I would imagine everyone who goes through your program is probably being snatched up, because I'm watching companies that are doing things they hadn't thought to do 10 years ago. They're creating internships. They're doing all kinds of things now to start to create that workforce pipeline. I think there's great opportunities, and having been virtual reality and augmented reality, we actually do programming not just here in Colorado Springs or the US, we do programming internationally. Before the meeting today, I was on a call with individuals in the UAE on how we could collaborate with them on their winter camp program that they're doing, provide content and activities. So yes, we do virtual reality, augmented reality, we do many other activities that are high-end lab tech discussions. We have actually a Mars yard in our facility here in Colorado Springs that we've had students in Pakistan drive rovers in our Mars lab. We had that facilitated by the Department of State. So again, we have labs and we are doing programming both locally, nationally, and internationally. So we look forward to finding ways to partner with other individuals on the call today. Whether one, you're listening on LinkedIn or Facebook and you're like, I want to be part of the space economy, there is a place for you. we'll help you find a mentor and find your way in. Or if you're out there doing great programming, the way we're going to help everyone be successful is we're going to cooperate. That was the thing I learned in the Air Force: cooperate and graduate, right? So let's all work together, because together we can solve this workforce challenge. It is going to hold us back if we want to unlock innovation, if we want to have this $3 trillion space economy. It is the one thing that if we don't start doing it now, it's not something I can solve 5 years from now or 10 years from now, because I can't grow an individual from 8th grade to PhD in 2 years. It's just not possible. So we have to really work together on these workforce challenges. So I hope that helped answer some final questions. Thank you, Michael. I want to thank the sponsors for today. This has been a wonderful event, and I look forward to the next 2 days. So thank you very much.
Terrific. Thank you very much, Shelley. That was the Chief Operations Officer of the Space Foundation. You know, she didn't really talk very much about the Space Foundation writ large, but it is a pretty amazing organization, kind of has a global footprint. Their space report is kind of considered an industry Bible, so it's definitely worth looking up for its financial impact stuff that I care about. And they have a global reach. So I recommend both the organization and what I refer to, and a lot of people refer to as spring break for space, but the symposium in the springtime is pretty terrific. Shelley, if you could put the symposium links in there. I know that the whole world had to adjust. I don't actually know what's going to happen with the symposium, but if you could put some links in there, that would be super useful. Okay, thank you all.